welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Krista. I'm an international mama of two, a dental hygienist turned midwifery student, and here on my YouTube channel, I talk about all things motherhood, midwifery, pregnancy, and childbirth education. So if these things are of interest to you, please follow along and get ready to birth and bloom. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. What are we talking about today? This is a more lighthearted video than last week's if you missed it. But we're going to be talking about doulas. What are doulas? Why would you consider hiring one? What is their expertise? I'm just going to break it all down for you and help you decide if you want to add a doula to your birth team. So once again, per usual, I always like to refer back to my own personal stories and experiences to help relate them to you. So for my first pregnancy, it was in 2020, which, COVID times. So when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I went the very traditional Western route. So I hired OBGYN group practice that had a midwife, and thankfully for myself, I saw the practice midwife through the majority of my prenatal care. And then I chose to have my baby in the hospital. And thankfully, my midwife, Rachel, was the one that was on call. And for that birth, I needed an induction at 37 weeks and 4 days. We'll talk about that whole story in another video. But needless to say, my midwife, Rachel, was at my birth, which made a massive impact, and I had a very positive hospital birth experience, considering, an induction was not part of the plan. All things could have gone awry, but thankfully I was educated and I had a really lovely practitioner that I really trusted and valued, and I knew that she was gonna care for me well. So I really did have a good hospital experience. That being said, in 2020, because of everything that was going on with the pandemic, even if I chose to have hired a doula for a support person, I would not have been able to have an extra person at my birth. So in 2020, in December, I knew this, and I also didn't have it really on my radar. This was a first-time mom experience. I wasn't like deep into the birth world yet. So though I had heard of doulas, I didn't really put up a fight or a stink to not be able to hire one and have one at my birth. So with my first birth experience, my husband Dave was like my rock star, and he and I got through that really powerful birth together. So that was my first experience. Fast forward, and I was pregnant again with my baby, my second daughter, June. And at this point in my life and in my path, I had the very vivid realization that I felt an immense calling to work in this world, the birth world, okay? I felt a really strong sense of purpose that this is what I needed to do. I needed to help educate mothers like you, and that I needed to walk down the path to train and learn everything possible to become a midwife and help serve women. And this is where there's a little bit of confusion between a midwife and a doula. If you didn't watch my very first video, I will differentiate between the two. Midwives and doulas are not the same. A midwife is going to be your primary healthcare provider, your practitioner. They are going to be the person that you're working with throughout your pregnancy. They're going to be doing all of the essential examinations and getting labs drawn and ordering potentially ultrasounds and palpating and touching your belly, listening to fetal heart rate, and getting to know you and your baby throughout your entire pregnancy. And your midwife is going to be who attends your birth to help catch your baby and take care of you as the mother and also the baby. So a midwife ends up having two clients, the mother and the baby once the baby is born. And generally midwives work in teams of two, where there's either a two midwife team or a midwife and a birth assistant. So there's going to be two very skilled healthcare providers that are with you at your birth, at a minimum, usually two. So what is a doula in comparison to a midwife? So a doula is a hired support person. What does that mean? Okay, so you can think of a doula as an experienced woman that has maybe gone through the same things that you have. Maybe they're a mother. You don't have to be a mom to be a doula, but many women feel called to work as doulas after they've had their own babies, either because they didn't have a great experience or they had a phenomenal experience and they worked with an amazing doula and they want to then, pass on what they've learned and assist and support a new birthing mom. So a doula is a hired support person. You can think of a doula as kind of a bundle of your birth best friend, your auntie, your wise big sister, your mom, your grandma, like all these women who have walked the path prior to you that are filled with knowledge about birth, that they attend many births, so they've seen and experienced a lot of things. And they can also help educate you prior to birth. So many doulas work as childbirth educators as well, where they help their clients go through the process during pregnancy and learn all about physiologic normal birth. And that's going to help their client, you, better mentally prepare for what labor is going to be like. And it's just really helpful in general that if before you have a baby that you are getting educated, that you understand and at least have a general understanding of what birth looks like, what is normal. So they can work as a childbirth educator essentially as well. Not to confuse you even more, but many midwives work as doulas prior to going down the midwifery path. So many midwives will start out as doulas, attending births with their clients, and they feel a calling to further their career and then become the midwife themselves. So in general, there are two kinds of doulas. There's doulas that are going to be with you kind of your prenatally. You may meet with them 1 or 2 times or a few times before your actual birth. They're going to be with you at your birth as your true support system. Okay, so that's like a birth doula. There's other doulas that I'm not going to talk as much about today that are considered postpartum doulas. So a postpartum doula may not attend births at all, but they work with moms that are in that fresh postpartum period to help take care of the mother and help with any of the household duties, help with laundry and cooking and cleaning, and make sure the mother is resting. Yes, getting to snuggle a newborn is amazing, but that is not the primary focus of a postpartum doula. A postpartum doula is going to focus on the mother and make sure that they are able to rest and be nourished and then look after their newborn. So that is generally what a postpartum doula is. There are some birth doulas that are full encompassing doulas where they will work with a couple prior to birth, attend the birth with them as their primary support person alongside the husband or partner, and then they may do some postpartum services as well. Maybe they do meals where they stock you up with freezer meals. Maybe they come to you after a couple weeks after your birth and kind of talk through your birth and help you process everything, good, bad, all of the things. Or maybe they truly are working as a postpartum doula as well, where they're doing cooking and cleaning and tending to you and baby. So for myself, with my second birth, I had a very clear vision of what I wanted for my birth. At this point, I knew that I wanted to become a midwife. And for myself personally, I felt it was very important that I experience what a normal, natural, physiologic birth was like. Meaning, as minimal medical interventions as possible, letting my body go into spontaneous labor, not fiddling, okay? So that's where things differ from the medical model versus the midwifery model, is midwives tend to recognize that pregnancy and birth is a normal life event and less intervening is encouraged. We know that birth works best when we do less. Okay, we know that the body and the baby are so wise and that the baby knows how to be born. But we'll go into all that more thoroughly in another video. So anyway, I felt that it was really important for myself because of my specific birth goals and vision that I wanted to hire a doula. So I knew what labor was going to be like to a certain degree. I had a medical induction, so I had I had contractions that were powered by Pitocin, and they were gnarly. So I knew that the second time around, if I was experiencing natural labor, that things are probably going to feel a little bit more tolerable until, maybe transition when things really heat up and baby is about to be born. So I decided that I was going to hire a doula. I decided that I was going to work with only midwives, and I had my second baby at a birth center with a midwife that was on call. And I felt like it was really important to build my team to have a successful birth. That is what I wanted. And yes, things can happen in birth that are not expected, that may be fairly disappointing to you, that it doesn't go exactly how you imagined it would. But I knew I wanted to kind of line up my roster and support myself the best I could to have a team that was going to be with me and support me in having my natural birth experience. And that's what happened, which was amazing. That was the goal. So I hired, shout out to Kate and Jess, Pittsburgh born. I gave birth to my girls in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And Kate and Jess work as a doula/photographer team. So not only did I hire them as doulas, I hired them as a birth photographer as well. So because they work as a team, I knew that one of them was going to be on call for my birth. And during my prenatal, we met, I think, around 36 weeks. Both of them came to the house. We got to know each other more. We talked kind of about like what my birth vision was, what I plan to do for coping mechanisms, and just getting through the intensity of labor. And it was really nice because we just got to know each other more, chat about being moms, all of the things. And it was a nice way to get to know both of them because, like I said, one of them was going to be on call for my birth. So fast forward to when I went into labor. I went into labor naturally at 39 and 4 days. And I was kind of messaging both the girls at 4 or 5 in the morning when I was starting to have early labor contractions in the shower. And I learned that Jess was going to be on call to attend my birth, which mentally I already knew that she was going to be the one. I just had a very clear vision of what my birth was going to look like. And I subconsciously intuitively knew that Jess was going to be there. So, which was great. So Jess met us at the birth center once we had discussed with the midwife that it was probably time to come in. And my second birth was really fast, guys. I showed up at the birth center at 8 a.m. Jess met us there by 9 a.m. And right around 9 a.m., my water burst, my water broke, and things sped up really quickly. So that was the transitional period where my body was moving, things are really happening. So Jess acted as my doula and my birth photographer. And because this was my second experience and my husband's second experience, he was my primary support person. When I'm in labor, I don't necessarily want people touching me, but I did want, the validation and the encouragement and the support of a woman that has walked this path prior and has supported many, many laboring clients. So I just felt good knowing that my husband had at least been to one birth. I had been to one birth. This was my second. And my doula had been to many births, had 2 of her own children. And then my midwife, and there was a nurse attending as well. So that was my team. So my birth moved really quickly. After my water broke, my midwife decided it was probably time to start filling up the birth tub because they knew that I wanted a water birth. And that's where I moved. And honestly, so between 9 and 9:43, things moved fast and I had my baby. So it was wild. I didn't have a super long labor experience where I had my doula really being hands-on and work with me to do different coping techniques through the labor contraction pains. But when you hire a doula, that is what they're gonna be looking out for. They're gonna make sure that you're staying hydrated. Do you need snacks? Do we need to change laboring positions? Have things stalled? They have been through this experience where they can identify where there are little hiccups going on alongside your midwife or doctor, and they're going to be with you to help make your labor progress, give you positions that are going to encourage baby to continue to descend, continue that dilation, and for baby to be born. And do you have to want a natural birth to hire a doula? Absolutely not. Many women who have the goal of having a natural birth will hire a doula because they feel like they need that extra support and encouragement from another support person that is going to help guide them and get them through this powerful experience. But if you know that you are having a hospital birth and you know that you maybe want to utilize the epidural, or maybe you want to have an unmedicated birth, but you're open to an epidural if you feel like you need one, that is totally fine. Your doula is going to be with you through the intense labor contraction pains and help you manage them in a natural, holistic way. But if you decide that you want a little extra help, you want some pain relief, your doula will know when you're serious because you'll have gotten to know each other prior to this and be on board. They are going to act as like kind of an intermediary between you and the doctors or the nurses, and they can help advocate for you about your birth wishes, what's on your birth plan. They are working for you. They are helping you have the most positive birth experience possible. And unfortunately, in our system today, women could be fighting for what they want in their birth. And that is so wrong on so many levels. But women decide to hire doulas for that backup support that the doula itself can help stand the mother's ground with her and, really help encourage the birth to unfold how the mother desires. So I hope that makes sense. Your doula is a hired support person. They are amazingly wise. They likely have attended many, many births, and they are there to walk you through your birth experience and be there and support you the best way they possibly can. To help you achieve your birth goals. And even if things go a little sideways and you have a birth that was maybe a little traumatic, or you ended up in an emergency cesarean section, or baby has to go to the NICU, like something happens that we didn't anticipate, a doula can be with you to help you really process your birth story, walk with you in the postpartum weeks, and just be there to support you continually, and be that human being with you that is going to just make you feel good, make you feel like you're another human being. Sometimes when we're pregnant and have given birth, mothers are just looked at as a vessel, and if mom and baby are alive at the end of the birth, that's a win. Well, yeah, that's the bare minimum. That's what we want. But having a doula is going to make this a real human experience and look out for you and just make sure that you're doing okay throughout your labor and birth experience, but also postpartum. And that's a very, very tender time where they're going to just, be on the lookout, make sure you're doing okay, make sure our moods are not getting too intense. And for myself personally, my doula came to my house about 6 weeks postpartum. We talked over the birth story. She shared the beautiful birth photos that she took during my labor and birth. And I was really, really glad that I hired my doula team. So if you have any interest in hiring a doula to build your birth team, I highly recommend you look into the doulas that are around in your area. Many doulas, if they're kind of just starting out and haven't attended that many births, probably are fairly reasonably priced. Others that may be more experts or are really incredible birth photographers that do both photography and being doulas, they may be a little harder to snag up, because they have limited availability every month. But I really strongly encourage you to look into who's available in your area and meet with people to see who is a good fit for you. So I hope this helps. Will I choose to have a doula at my potentially third birth? I don't know. I really see the value in having a doula. But for my third birth, I imagine definitely having a home birth. Me and my husband having an amazing midwife would be incredible. And I can't imagine having it photographed again, just because this is my realm now and I just would never change not having my birth photographed. Like, this is one photo back here, but I have a beautiful album of my entire labor and birth experience, and that in itself is like so amazing. Like, if you really feel pregnancy and birth and you want to capture these moments, I 100% absolutely recommend doing it. So that's a whole other topic. But if you have a doula that does photography as well, I think no brainer, then you should absolutely do it. So hiring a doula can be extremely helpful to you, for you to achieve your birth goals and dreams and vision. And I think it's something that you should really consider if that's what you're looking for. So I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, drop them down below and we'll chat in the next one. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.